Once again, gentleman Jim the Tailor, the brother from Harlem with a high school education. I want to continue on my journey living in Harlem, me and my partners hanging out on the street, playing all the games that we played in those days, having a good time growing up. I remember I'm 10 years old, and this is all new to me, Harlem. And then one day Joey, my best friend now, after he had beat me up half the time, he said, come on, let's go down to 125th Street. 125 Street, as they called it. 125? I didn't know what 125 meant or was or where it was. We lived on 128th Street and 9th Street on Convent Avenue. 125th Street was only 3 blocks down, and the beginning of the shopping district was 1 block over. So we walked down to 125th Street, and we crossed St. Nicholas Avenue, and now all of a sudden there are retail stores everywhere. Because I could look down 125th Street and see all of the signs blinking from all the stores. I'm saying, wow, I had never seen anything like this in my life. I remember I came from Queens, which is real suburbia, and now all of a sudden, then I went to the Bronx, which gave me a mixture of black and Spanish people, but they were not stores. We didn't go, during my time there, we didn't go to too many stores. We just kind of stayed in the neighborhood. And now I'm in the neighborhood with the stores. So we're on 125th Street, and we're walking across, we're just bebopping along, and all of a sudden, I see movie theaters. The Sunset Theater and the West End Theater. I said, wow, I know the movie theaters are right here. There was a lot of movie theaters on 125th Street back in those days. And we got to this store, and it said, Vets Sporting Goods. And Joey said, this is where everybody buys their sporting goods. They had basketballs, baseballs, gloves, jerseys, sweats, tennis shoes. They had it all in Vets. Now, Vets wasn't a real big store, but Vets had everything for you. If you were a baller, Vets had it. So you got Vets there. You got the movie theaters across the street. And now we approach the corner, we're on 8th Avenue. And I could look up and I could look down. And all of a sudden I could see people everywhere. Oh man, I never saw that many people in my life. And I'm just in Harlem. I'm saying to myself, boy, this is something. So I looked and I pointed, and there was a store in the corner, and it said, A.J. Lester's. So Joey said, yeah man, he said, A.J. is where all the hustlers and the players go and buy their sharp clothes. They're expensive though. Well, I don't know what expensive is. I never really bought anything in my life, so I don't know what's expensive. But I see all the brothers coming out, and they rag down, and they got their brims on, and they cocked to the side, and right next door to A.J. Lester was a hat store. Dobbs hats, Knox hats, but they sold a Dobb hat. And this is where all the players got those fedoras and those derby type hats, all broke down, real nice and real expensive. I'm saying, wow, I'd never seen anything like this in my life. Because all the gentlemen in Harlem in those days, and not just Harlem, but most black men in those days wore a hat. I eventually got to that stage in my life, but right now I'm 10 years old. And then I look down 8th Avenue, and I can see all the hustle and bustle down there. I can see all the people moving back and forth, and I'm saying, this is something else. So I look down there, and all of a sudden, I see this big sign up on top of a building on the corner of 124th Street and 8th Avenue. Big sign read, because I'm hearing this music come from it. Joey says, oh, that's a church. I thought, a church with horns and drums and whatnot. And I hear the tambourines being played. I said, wow, and the sign read, as Noah was before the flood, it's Daddy Grace before the fire. I don't know who Daddy Grace is. I eventually learned who he was, but that particular time, I didn't know anything about that. So I'm walking along 125th Street, we're on the other side of 8th Avenue, and we're walking down. I see this big sign up there saying, Apollo Theater. Joey says, oh yeah, man. He said, that's where everybody hangs out. Apollo Theater. The billboard read, Jocko's Rocket Ship Review. I don't know who Jocko is. I very seldom listen to music at my age. Then in those days, you heard the music, but you didn't really listen to it. So I didn't know who Jocko was. I eventually knew who Jocko was. Oh, I eventually found out who all these people were. But as a young boy coming out of Queens, now living in Harlem, it's a culture shock to me. Culture shock. All my people are there. All the brothers and sisters. The sisters are looking good. The brothers are clean as, we used to say, clean as the board of health. Got some more phrases that we said later on, and I'll get to those because now I'm growing up. But right now I'm 10 years old. I'm on 125th Street. I'm looking down, I'm looking up, and I'm just amazed at all the people on 125th Street because I never saw that many people in my life, anywhere, anywhere. Now, on the corner, on this side of the street, there's a brother standing on a box preaching the gospel. Across the street, on this corner, there's a brother standing on a box and he's preaching Islamics. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's a black Muslim, as we call them there. On this corner here, there's another guy, he's Jehovah's Witness. He's telling about his Jehovah's Witness thing. And then on this corner, needless to say, is an atheist. He preaching there ain't no God. There ain't no God. Y'all are just fooling yourself. There ain't no Christ or nothing. I'm saying, boy, this is so different. So we walk on down a little further. We get to the Apollo Theater. We're right in front of it. Across the street, so I looked over. Bloomstein's department store. Well, what and who was Bloomstein's? Bloomstein's would have been equivalent to the Macy's of Harlem. It was a department store. Now I had, like I say, up to this point, never been in a department store. Later on, I saw them all. But now I see a department store. Bloomstein's department store. See, you guys have to remember one thing. All these stores, even the big time stores, because our people just didn't go downtown to those stores. We were really discriminated on if we went downtown. So Harlem was set up in such a way that it was self-contained. There was nothing you needed to really go downtown for. Yes, the prices were inflated. But yes, the one thing that they did that we couldn't go downtown and get was credit. They give you credit in those days. In all of the stores, I didn't care who it was, they would give you credit. You couldn't get that downtown. Not as a black person living in those days. You couldn't get credit. Credit was hard to get, right? So as we journey across, and I'm looking at all the different places, and I'm looking at what's happening, and I'm just amazed. I'm totally amazed looking there and seeing this. I see hustlers. I see guys sharp and they driving Cadillac cars. And I see the ladies of the night, as they used to call them. Oh, and they're draped and dressed in minks and everybody's got diamonds. And see, long before y'all talked about this bling, back then the brothers wore plenty of bling. They had all kind of diamond rings. And they had all kind of medallion necklaces with diamonds on them, with their name and everything. Oh, that was player thing. Every player had a bad hat and was wearing a tough suit. And he wore alligator shoes. And I'm saying, wow, I never seen alligator shoes before until I moved to Harlem. Never saw alligator shoes. So I'm looking over here, and I can't take my eyes off of what's happening. And then we get to the corner of 8th Avenue and 7th Avenue and 125th Street. There's another big building. And this is the biggest building in Harlem at that time, which was the Hotel Theresa. Joey says the Hotel Theresa is where blacks had to stay in entertainment and everything else, because once again, they didn't let them stay in the hotels downtown. They discriminated back then. Now this is the 50s, and we were still being discriminated on. So after walking over to Lenox, Joey says, well, we'll go back to the block, because now we're about almost 8 blocks away from the block. And it's starting to get a little dark, and you know, you had to be home for them street lights came on, so we had to get back. So I'm saying to myself, man, I just never saw anything like this in my life. I'm just amazed. I'm just totally, totally amazed. I see the Hotel Theresa, I see the Apollo, I see Frank's Restaurant, I see A.J. Lester's, Bloomstein's, all of these, and plenty of bars. They had two bars that really struck my eye. One was called the Apollo Bar, and the other was called the Baby Grand. I'll tell you about those later, because I have to get into what all was there in this talk about Harlem. I'm going to tell you about everything that existed in those days, why, what they were about, how they operated, who patronized them. I'm going to tell you exactly what the people did in those days. Now I'm in the 50s, now wait till I get in the 60s. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. You guys are in for a treat to know how it really was living and growing up in Harlem during my day, 50s, 60s, and early 70s. I want to thank you once again for staying tuned to me, and just keep following me, and I'm going to give you a little bit. It's so much to give you that I'm going to give it to you in smaller bites, because I'd get carried away and you could be listening to me for the next 8 months. So it'll be all right though. But once again, this is Gentleman Jim the Tailor, the brother from Harlem with the high school education. Thank you, be blessed, and we'll be together again soon.